Gut health is the foundation of our kids' well-being, and when we focus on gut health, we can see improvements in our kids' immunity, allergies, eczema, asthma, mood and behaviour, their tummy troubles, their fussy eating, and so much more. And that's why I'm so excited to invite you along to my free online masterclass, 3 surprisingly simple ways to transform your kids' gut health to improve behaviour, immunity, allergies, and fussy eating. Now, I've run this masterclass before and it has been super popular, and I have updated the content. So even if you've been before, you're going to get so much great value out of this online masterclass. We are running 2 live sessions at the end of October, one on Tuesday, the 26th of October, in the morning, and one on Wednesday, the 27th of October in the evening in Australian time. Head on over to naturalsuperkids.com/gut-health-masterclass, or head on over to our website or the show notes to find the link to make it nice and easy for you to save your seat at this free masterclass. As well as the masterclass, we have a bonus pop-up Facebook group where you can get support from me and my team, get some valuable bonus trainings, and also have the opportunity to win prizes. We're going to make this all very fun, so that you get engaged and you're inspired to make some simple changes that will make all the difference to your family's gut health and overall well-being. I can't wait to see you there. Welcome to the Natural Super Kids podcast, where you will discover practical strategies to inspire you to boost the health and nutrition of your kids. I'm Jessica Donovan, a qualified naturopath specialising in kids' health, and I want to make it as easy as possible for you to raise healthy and happy kids. Let's get into it. Hello. Welcome back to the Natural Super Kids podcast. I am thrilled you are joining me today, and we're continuing our conversation and topics all about gut health. And today's episode is about those all too common tummy aches that kids experience. Look, children often complain about tummy aches, and they are one of the most common reasons that parents take their kids to the doctor. They're also one of the most common reasons parents book in to see a naturopath, including us here at Natural Super Kids. Really common, and usually there's some other signs and symptoms going on. So today I want to talk about tummy aches, some of the most common causes of tummy aches, what else tummy aches can mean in kids, why we have to do some detective work, and what we really want to be looking for to get to the bottom or the cause of the tummy aches, and some action steps, what you can do as a parent to start to figure out what's going on when it comes to your child's tummy aches, and what you can do, what you can change, things that you can alter to start to improve those tummy aches. So, as I said, kids often complain of tummy aches, and it can be caused by other things that aren't necessarily sort of directly related to the gut. So, some kids complain about tummy aches when they're nervous or they're anxious or they're stressed. Or when they're feeling nauseous or sick, and that can be, related to anxiety as well. Some kids just say, I've got a tummy ache when they generally feel a little bit unwell, or when they have a headache or a migraine. Some kids say that they have a tummy ache. So I just wanted to really make it clear that tummy aches aren't always just tummy aches. A lot of kids will explain that they have a tummy ache when it really is something else. And I have a personal story about this. My daughter We travelled around Australia back in 2017, and it was a big deal for her. She was almost 5. I mean, it was a big deal for all of us. We were setting off for 12 months on the road in our camper, and she particularly struggled with saying goodbye to our dog and saying goodbye to her friends and our family, knowing that it would be a long time before we saw them. And soon into the trip, she started complaining about tummy aches. I'm thinking, what is going on? She would complain about these tummy aches, and it wasn't long until I realized that it was more an anxiety sort of symptom. And it was recently that we've had this conversation. Now she's almost 12 or 11 and a half, that when she feels sick, when she feels nauseous because she is nervous or because she is anxious, she calls that a tummy ache. She doesn't say, oh, I feel a bit sick. So that was a big kind of, it's not actually a tummy ache, it's her feeling sick. So that's just a little story to illustrate that we do need to kind of be fairly open when our kids are describing that they have a tummy ache, particularly for young children, because often they just can't articulate what they're feeling really very well. However, tummy aches are very, very common in kids, real tummy aches. And I do just want to go back to that story about my daughter, because I think this is a really common one for tummy aches to present when kids are anxious or stressed or nervous about something. And that doesn't mean that working on the gut won't help, because it will with those kinds of symptoms as well. In fact, when we're talking about anxiety in children, working on the gut is one of the most important things that we need to be doing, because of that all-important gut-brain connection. So be open and, ask kids lots of questions when they complain about tummy aches. Show me where it's sore. And, we need to do that detective work to sort of delve deeper and figure out what's really going on. And of course, this isn't always possible to work out as a parent. So always seek medical advice or some advice from a naturopath or other health practitioner that might be able to help you, figure out what is going on with your child. But when it comes to tummy aches in kids, there's a whole range of different causes. So I just want to go through some of those now. One of the really common causes of stomach pain or tummy aches is constipation. Now, we did a whole podcast episode last week on constipation. So obviously we want to be thinking about how often our kids are going to the toilet, what their bowel movements are like, all of those sorts of things to figure out whether there might be a bit of constipation going on. A lot of kids complain of a tummy ache when they need to go to the toilet. That feeling when you need to have a bowel movement, some kids will say, I've got a tummy ache, and then it will be relieved when they go to the toilet. But constipation, ongoing chronic constipation, is a common cause of tummy aches. Nearly all kids with constipation will have some discomfort, some bloating, and some abdominal pain that goes along with constipation. Food sensitivities and intolerances and malabsorption issues are a really common cause of ongoing abdominal pain in kids as well. So this is something we do want to look into and delve into. Now, with food sensitivity or food intolerance reactions, it can take, hours, even up to 72 hours for symptoms to develop. Now, with the gastrointestinal symptoms like stomach pain or abdominal pain, it is often a lot sooner than that. So if our kids are getting tummy aches or complaining of tummy aches after they've eaten or within, a few hours after eating, that could be related to a food sensitivity or an intolerance or a malabsorption issue. And even a lot later than that, if your kids are having ongoing tummy aches, then food sensitivities, intolerances, and malabsorption issues such as fructose malabsorption or lactose malabsorption are definitely things you want to look into. We have a podcast episode dedicated to food intolerances, so I'll make sure I link that in the show notes so you can find that easily as well. Irritable bowel is a really common cause of stomach aches or tummy aches or gastrointestinal sort of discomfort. And irritable bowel is a very broad term, but, it's something worth looking into if your child is having regular pain in the abdominal area. And more serious kind of digestive conditions can be the cause of tummy aches as well. Things like celiac disease or inflammatory bowel conditions or appendicitis or bowel obstruction. So, if stomach pain is ongoing for your child, it's definitely worth getting, checked for these kinds of things, having a visit to the GP, particularly if you have a family history of things like celiac disease, you'd be ultra aware of that. But stomach pain is really common in these kinds of more serious and more chronic digestive issues. Stomach pain can also be related to infections, of course, gastro infections, but also kidney or bladder infections, even other infections. Lots of kids will get stomach pain or tummy aches when they have respiratory infections or ear infections. So again, it can be a little bit hard for kids to differentiate, if they're just feeling unwell and if they've got pain, they might just say they've got a tummy ache, but abdominal pain is common in those kinds of infections as well. So that's something to keep in mind. And then the other thing that I really wanted to mention as well is a period pain, obviously for girls, can be a common cause of that abdominal discomfort that they could complain about tummy aches when it's related to hormones and periods and cycles. So we want to be aware of that as well. And just going back to some other common sort of digestive imbalances or conditions that can be related to tummy aches, reflux is a big one that I didn't mention earlier, and abdominal migraines can be a cause of that tummy aches as well. So they're all things to keep in mind. So, with all of these different variety of causes, how do we figure out what's going on? Well, it comes down to that detective work. And as naturopaths here at Natural Super Kids, this is what we love. We love that detective work, digging deep and figuring out, what is the cause of a particular child's tummy aches. So we are looking for, and this is something that you can do as well as a parent, we're looking for other symptoms. Are there any rashes? Is the child fatigued? Do they have any other digestive symptoms? What are their bowel habits like? What are the details of their poo? We love to know this as naturopaths. What's the colour of their poo? How frequently are they going in terms of bowel habits? What's the texture like? What's the colour like? All of these things can give us clues as to what particularly is causing ongoing tummy aches for a particular child. We're also looking at a child's individual health history, what sort of health issues they've had in the past, what medications they've been on in the past, what medications they're currently on, what's going on with other systems of their bodies. And we're also thinking about their family history as well. Their siblings, their mum, their dads, their grandparents. What are the chronic health conditions that are present within the family, both immediate and extended family, so we can start to figure out whether there may be any conditions linked to genetics, such as celiac disease, as I mentioned before, is a good example of that. And of course, we want to know all about a child's appetite and their diet. What are they eating? What aren't they eating? How regularly are they eating? How hungry are they? What's their appetite like in the morning? Are they fussy eaters? Have they got, particular preferences for foods? Do they have particular dislikes for foods? What is the family's general dietary habits like? Because from experience with seeing and helping lots and lots and lots of kids with tummy aches, it's almost always related in some way to diet, whether that is, the diet is out of whack, whether the diet isn't, fueling the gut and the microbiome, whether the diet is lacking some really important, things like fiber, that is contributing to the gastrointestinal imbalances that might be going on. All of these things are really important. Of course, are they overeating? Because that can cause tummy aches for kids as well. Just that, I'm sure we've all experienced that sort of abdominal discomfort after eating too much food or eating too much junk food. So we're thinking about all of these, things. And this is what I want you to start thinking about as a parent when it comes to your child's stomach aches as well. I feel like I've said tummy aches a million times, so now I'm saying stomach aches. So let's have a little talk about what you can do as a parent. Now, of course, the odd tummy ache here and there is not a big deal. But if your child does have consistent or regular tummy aches, if they're affecting your child's quality of life, if they're not able to go to school some days because of their stomach pain, or it's affecting their sleep or their energy levels or their overall sort of mood and well-being, then we really want to make sure that we're investigating what's really going on here. So the first thing I would recommend you do is keep a diary of when your child is getting or complaining about these tummy aches. And if they're older, they might be able to keep this diary themselves. So yeah, keeping a record of when these tummy aches are occurring. And if you can, writing down a quick kind of overview of what they've eaten in a day as well can be a really good idea. So that could just look like at the end of every day, you sit down for a couple of minutes, write down what they've eaten and whether they've experienced any tummy aches. And that can be really helpful because you can start to see patterns. And if you can't get on top of it with the things that we're going to discuss now, then that diary is so valuable for a practitioner to have a look at, because even if you can't see any patterns, a practitioner might go, oh, hang on a minute, their diet is quite high in fructose and they seem to get these tummy aches when they've had a high fructose meal or snack. So, we can maybe see some things that you might not be able to see as a parent as well when you sort of bring along a diary to a practitioner. So keeping a diary is really helpful. For one reason, you might be able to figure out what's going on. It might be really that obvious. And two, if you can't, it's a really handy tool to bring to a practitioner so that they can help you get on top of what's going on. My second tip about what you can do is to focus on the diet. As I said, stomach aches are nearly always related to the food that a child is eating or not eating. It can be really frustrating. I remember I had a client a couple of years ago that had a chronic gastrointestinal condition, and her gastroenterologist told her that diet has nothing to do with this, complex chronic GI condition. And I just think that is the most, just crazy thing that, the gastrointestinal tract is in constant contact with the food that we eat. So how can our food not affect things like tummy aches and symptoms of chronic gastrointestinal conditions? It just blows my mind. That is still the the outlook of some medical sort of professionals and specialists. Anyway, so diet does have an impact on our kids' gut health and their gut symptoms. Of course it does. So we want to be focusing on the diet. And the first thing we can do is just to sort of start to increase plant foods in the diet. Plant foods are high in fiber, lots of different fibers that are so good for our gut. So if we can start to increase plant foods, the vegetables and the salads and the whole grains and the nuts and seeds and the fruit. Now, this is like a general tip. So some of those foods that I just mentioned could potentially be triggers for tummy aches, but as a general rule, increasing plant foods in the diet will help to improve overall gut health. So think about how can you start to increase plant foods in the diet. If you notice any increase in your child's complaining about tummy aches as you're doing this, then that can be a clue in itself that maybe there are some food sensitivities or intolerances to some of these plant foods. But overall, increasing plant foods is going to help with overall gut function and the health of the microbiome. And that will really help to reduce inflammation in the gut, which leads to less pain and less tummy aches. The next thing to focus on is to cut down on some of those foods that are abrasive or don't contain helpful ingredients for our children's gut, and they are the sugars and the processed foods and the refined foods. When our kids are eating a lot of these foods, these like foods like sugar are detrimental directly to gut health. They feed the pathogenic or bad bacteria. They can lead to dysbiosis and other gut imbalances. And so, that's directly not a good thing for the gut. And when our kids are eating high amounts of processed foods, refined foods, packet foods, it means that they're probably lacking some of that all-important fiber that is so important for overall gut function and for reducing inflammation in the gut. So cutting down on the sugars, the processed foods, the refined foods, the packet foods, in a step-by-step way. You don't have to do it all at once. Just be mindful of, these sorts of foods and how much of them are going into your kids' diets. So again, it's a sort of a general recommendation to be increasing those plant foods and decreasing the processed, sugary, refined foods. The next thing when it comes to diet is to identify or look into or investigate food intolerances. And so, keeping a food diary can be a really helpful way of doing that. But from my years and years of naturopathic practice and specializing in kids' gut health, I have found that, really commonly things like dairy and gluten can contribute to tummy aches and gut inflammation in kids. The FODMAP foods, the foods that are high in these fermentable carbohydrates, otherwise known as FODMAPs, can be a common trigger for kids' gut symptoms, particularly tummy aches, and also things like fructose and lactose malabsorption can be really common in kids with tummy aches as well. So thinking about this, and look, this will generally require some professional support. So don't feel like you can, that you can sort of delve into this on your own. But I just wanted to make you aware that things like dairy and gluten and the high FODMAP foods and fructose and lactose can be common triggers for tummy ache. So just that awareness is really important. And then the last thing that I would recommend that you do is focus on building up gut health. So, probiotics can be really helpful for a lot of kids with tummy aches. But that is really the first step is to look into maybe a probiotic supplement for your child, because they can often help with things like tummy aches and other gastrointestinal symptoms. But often it is more than that. So it's really, trying to work out that trigger, or working with a practitioner to work out, what really is going on here. But focusing on building up that gut health is really important, because when the gut is functioning optimally, it can break down things like, some of the common food intolerances. When we're talking about food intolerances and sensitivities, one part of the picture is removing those foods for a period of time from the diet. But while we're doing that, we really want to make sure we're focusing on building up gut health. And as I said, a probiotic supplement can be a good first step, but it is only part of the picture. So I am going to be sharing much more on this topic of building up gut health and how that can improve not just your kids' gastrointestinal symptoms, such as tummy aches and constipation and reflux and food sensitivities, but also how it can improve their immune system, their allergies, their mood, their behavior, their fussy eating. Gut health really is the foundation of our kids' overall well-being. So I'm excited to be sharing so much more in my upcoming masterclass, which is 3 surprisingly simple ways to transform your kids' gut health to improve their immunity, allergies, mood, and fussy eating. So this is going to be packed full of practical information. I've run this masterclass before and it's been super popular, and I'm excited to be running it again in October. So come on over to the show notes to sign up for the masterclass to save your seat. It's completely free. We've got 2 session times to choose from. I would love to see you there, and you can find out more in the link in the show notes. I hope you've enjoyed today's episode, and it's sort of made you aware of some things that you might not have thought about when it comes to your child's tummy aches. I hope you have a good day. Thank you so much for joining me on the podcast today. Head on over to our website, naturalsuperkids.com, for the show notes for this episode, as well as a whole heap of inspiration to help you raise healthy and happy kids. I'll see you next week.